And our next speaker is Mrs. Ifeoma DIke. She is the head of CrossBoundary ESG.
So it's an honor to be here, standing on the stage. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those things where you still have to get used to it. But it's really wonderful seeing all your faces this morning. And thank you, Akin, for the opportunity to speak to everyone here. So I think just taking cue from what Dr. Aya has spoken about, like my background is ESG, and I'll talk about that concept a little bit more later. But ESG is simply environmental, social, and governance. And I recall, and as we're just talking, I just remember that one of the very first triggers in leading me along this path was when I used to drive across Third Mainland Bridge from, my house used to be in Ikeja, and I used to go to school in ISL, in Unilag actually. And you know when you go by the waterway, you see like this reefs like on the lagoon. And the thing used to make me so upset. I was like, why do they have to make it so messy? And then, long story short, when it came time to go to university, I studied environmental science first, and then I went on to do environmental technology at Imperial. And so it's just been a really long journey in terms of looking at things like EIA, how it affects our environment, and then moving into the financial space. So what I'm going to explain today is largely going to deal with my experience in that private equity, private sector especially. And just for you to open your eyes, I'm getting to see opportunities beyond just public sector, but also in the private sector. That's where a lot of opportunity lies, especially how well or how you're able to coin it to suit the needs, but also meet the demands or the challenges that we have in our society today. So I don't know if we have the slides coming up. I have a few slides to share with you guys today. Okay, but just very quickly, the objectives of today are two things. One, I want you guys to understand the concept of responsible investing. And then two, I want to be able to help you connect the dots from what responsible investment means and how it can be harnessed towards a green economy. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'm very extra. I like to do really bright, funky, animated slides as well. So what is responsible investing? It's simply pushing, it's pretty much a concept that makes environmental and social factors a priority. It's pretty much you looking at a business and saying, how can I do this business in the right way, whereby I'm making money, but at the same time, I'm also making sure that my impact on the environment is limited, my social contributions are being enhanced, and all round my business is bringing a sustainable value to the environment that it's in. So that's what responsible investing is about. And then how does this tie into the green economy? When you think of the green economy, it's pretty much an economy that has a balanced view on how we interact with our environment, how we interact with social aspects, and then finally, how all of those things tie into the kind of economic gains that we would have as a nation, as a state, as a company itself. So that is what it means. But then you're looking at it from an angle of, in the green economy, I want to be able to ensure that my company's operations have reduced carbon emissions. They are ensuring that the environmental angle in terms of waste management or waste production is limited as much as possible. And then finally, what I'm doing is not damaging the natural capital in any way. I'm doing it in a responsible manner. Next slide, please. So I have this, I like to do trivias. So who wants to be a millionaire? But please kindly ignore this figure. There's no money for you, apologies. But I wanted to just get our brains moving in terms of how much private capital do you think globally has been allocated to responsible investing? Any takers? There might be a gift, you never know. Sorry? 250 billion.
Yeah.
That's not correct. Yes, please.
A.
That's not correct. If I'm not doing guesswork. Next slide, please. So it's actually 121 trillion. Globally, you have $121 trillion trillion dollars available for responsible investing. That simply just tells you that when you start thinking about environmental opportunities or social opportunities, there are vast pools of capital to support that thought process. You only have to just think about what challenge do I want to solve? Is it marketable? Does it have some economic gains or stand to give social value, and you have access to a lot of capital. This number used to be, sorry, go slide. This number used to be about 103 as of 2 years ago. So it's increased by 19 trillion in just 2 years. That simply just tells you that the world itself is moving towards a green mindset, thinking about how they can improve the overall outcome of our communities and different countries. So next slide, please. So this one is just a simple one. If we're talking about responsible capital, now thinking about it from an aspect of how then do they apply those concepts in businesses? So question is, what is the most widely accepted responsible investment option globally? Any takers? Sorry? Nope. Nope. ESG. Next slide, please. ESG. So ESG, as I mentioned earlier, I can go to the next slide, sorry. It's pretty much looking at businesses with 3 lenses or 3 pillars: environmental, social, and governance. Environmental, number 1, you're looking at how, okay, let me use an example of a manufacturing business. And we have a brewery right here, they manufacture. So they're thinking about number 1, environmental component. He talked about water quality. So thinking about, oh, how then do I improve my water quality so that my customers have good quality beer? That's number 1. Thinking about, okay, I'm taking water from a borehole. What can I do to maybe not necessarily replenish, but recycle the water, whereby my water demand is managed? Number 3, Dr. Aya to talk about things like packaging. What kind of the materials am I using, and are they recyclable? All of those things fall under the environmental component. The second component, which is social, again, back to the brewery. Sorry, I'm using you as an example. But you're looking at the interaction between the brewery itself, like its staff, that's internal, versus external, that's the community itself. So you're looking at how does the brewery impact its surrounding environment. Are they complaining that, oh, maybe there's a smell, maybe the water from the manufacturing process is affecting other water bodies? Or are they thinking about their staff welfare? How are they being well taken care of? So all of those things come under the social component. And then the last one, that's the G, governance. Governance is pretty much your standards. Like, what is your rule of law in that business? How do you apply those practices? Do you have anything like an anti-bribery or corruption law? How are you transparent in your processes? Do you do like an annual report? Do you like showcase your good deeds? Those kind of things fall under governance. So why are these components important? We talked about the capital earlier, the fact that there's 122 and 21 trillion dollars available globally. What happens is that when companies want to receive capital from a number of foreign investors, even in Nigeria, we even have the Nigerian banking principle, Nigerian sustainability banking principles. All of those things are standards. Likewise, an ESG is a standard. They want you to be able to show as a business, as a social good enterprise, that you have incorporated all of these components in how you deliver on your operations. And so for you to be able to get, and so here I've just highlighted some benefits here though, but for you to be able to showcase that you are doing good business, all of these things have to be evident in how you execute your operations. So the opportunity here is that when you introduce these things, you have a good risk management process. For example, again, the brewery, if they hadn't taken into consideration their operations and how they manufacture beer, and the fact that perhaps there might be a pollution event and they haven't thought about it or planned for it, that could be risky for their business. So by them thinking about it earlier, by introducing all these concepts, they have like a forward-looking analysis of what could happen, and then they are mitigating against it. So it could be that maybe they have like maybe a valve system that stops things from flowing out. All of those things will come under there. Likewise, if you're looking to invest, like if you're looking like as a company or maybe for individual ideas, if you're looking to invest or someone wants to invest in you, this makes you more attractive. It shows that you're thinking about not just my financial gains, but you're going beyond that to look at what other aspects or what other impacts my business could have. And it's very important, especially for the international community. It's very important. And then you also look at things like how it fosters stakeholder relationships. You have like a lot more interest now in green products. You have like recycled bottles, recycled paper. You have things like, even down to things like green production processes. When people put that brand and say, oh, we've made sure that we've adhered to all the proper regulations as we produce this product. Customers are drawn to that. That in itself is innovation. It helps you innovate. And then it also helps you look at, from an economic standpoint, it helps you attract new clients, new capital. And I can give you so many examples. One of my previous portfolio, they used to deal with household goods. And they found that just by tweaking their products and services to cater to women, they were able to introduce a whole new product line. And it was a situation where people had not thought about it before, and it just brought about a whole new value add to that business. Likewise, you have a company that even from their packaging material, they spend so much importing it, and they would just call Ogun State Environmental Authority to come and take it out. They found that just by repackaging it and reselling it, they were making money. So all of these things can actually bring forth opportunities. So we try to see it as two-pronged. It's for risk management, but also opportunity identification. And it really goes a long way. Now, when you look at the market now, especially around fossil fuels, I don't know whether anybody has heard of any recent investment in any oil and gas business. Have anybody heard of any? None. Everybody is moving towards solar. Everybody is saying, I want to be green in my operations. So what do? I'm looking at gas, I'm looking at solar, I'm looking at this one, I'm looking at that one. That is because even the world recognizes the fact that we should be moving towards a sustainable place. So next slide, please. So I wanted to just throw some examples and just to get your creative juices flowing in terms of concepts and the fact that going green sells. Going green makes a lot of money. We talk about plastic. See recyclers. Recyclers got 2 million euros in the last 3-4 months. And this is just to expand their facilities here in Lagos. Not even anywhere else, only in Lagos. And that was done, and that contribution was from Norfund. Norfund is a Norwegian developmental authority. So what they did is just to say, okay, I like this concept. You're doing a green idea. We love it. It's helping us solve a challenge. Here's some money. Literally. So that's supposed to be like, I think I'm here to just ginger you, like, look to see that your ideas can actually bring money. And then second one is Husk Power. And they got like almost $100 million recently. And they've got, and still like all the phenomenal DFIs that have backed them. DFC is the US DFI. Propaco, I think is the Finnish DFI. Switch Fund is the Swedish DFI. FMO is the German DFI. And all of them are backing this one company that has operations in Nigeria, just by virtue of it being a green business. They are supplying mini grids in rural areas and within Nigeria and other locations. Then the last one here is gender. Gender is a big selling point now. You have a lot of money coming in there. We have Alethea. Alethea is one of the co-founders is actually Nigerian. And then Kuramo Capital is actually like a Nigerian private equity firm as well. And look how much money they are raising, 100 million, 150 million. And it's just targeting women. Just targeting women. As a woman, if you want to start a business, you have funds accessible to you. Pretty much. So this is just to like let you see that embedding ESG concepts is not just about, I have an idea. It's all about the fact that your ideas can actually sell. So how then can you how can you do it too? So think of it two-pronged. You're gaining financial benefits, but at the same time, you also have some significant environmental and social gains being attached to your ideas. Next slide, please. So all I've said today is there's capital, there's ESG criteria. If you put those two together, think about what they can do to the economy. Think about all these sectors and how you can impact them. I think for today, they were focusing largely on waste management and recycling. They were giving you the plastic recycling example. But then there's this lady that started doing a recycling of tires. I don't know who has heard about her. Yeah, She's doing cycling of tires and she's booming because she has seen a challenge and she has moved from that challenge, I want to provide a solution. And then she's finding uses for the actual waste. I'm considered waste. And I've also always wanted to ask, why do we have so many Chinese in Nigeria? Why do we have so many Chinese? Like, think about it. Why do we have so many Chinese people in Nigeria? They know that there's a problem to be solved here. And they leverage it. I heard the wildest thing recently. We have Chinese personnel like here in Nigeria. They go around sourcing for all the copper wires that you have from telecoms, from wherever, and then they would export it. And then they will resell it to Nigeria. That is a huge gap that if we're able to block, trust me, there's significant gain there. So when you think about, oh, I have an idea, think about there's capital available. If I introduce my ESG criteria, not just in my green ideas, but even if I find myself in any corporate setting, think about the fact that you have a role there to play. And as Dr. Aya mentioned as well, think about it as it's an intentional effort of what change you can make. I think in my career, I've been fortunate to work across all of these sectors, and it's encouraging when you're able to take a business from point A to point B, just by virtue of introducing ESG. They start to think about, okay, I didn't think about it that way. Now, okay, let me move from fuel to solar, and then they are able to record millions of dollars in savings. Or let me move to plastic recycling, and then they realize that they are able to save significant effort in terms of their waste streams. All of those things just come from each person's idea here and how you're able to work together to bring it to bear. Next slide, please, and the final slide. But I wanted to touch on something just very briefly. I know we've talked about the responsible investing and the fact that investments go a long way in bringing about this change. But Dr. Hale stole my thunder when I was talking about the U. About the U element, but it's okay. She did it so well. But beyond that, they have to be enabling conditions. And there's opportunity beyond I have to just do it this one way. Think about in every single space that you're in, even in school, even wherever you are, think about it, even at home. What can I do to solve a problem? How can I leverage what I know or what I have or who I know to solve a problem? There might be other things that we need to then adhere to. Obviously, from a government standpoint, we easily just say, oh, government is moving towards oil and gas, so I don't need to pay attention to it. You have a role to play. And clearly, there's a lot of space. Make room for yourself, and there will be significant benefits. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.